Listeners, do you like room temperature ale?
Do you like making risque jokes to a new interlocutor before wondering whether they are in fact from Hope Not Hate and have a wire underneath their shirt?
Then you will love the Anglo-Futurist drinks taking place on the 14th of November. We will be hosting another one of our drinks that was very popular last time, at least to the people who turned up. And we don't know what happens about the people who didn't turn up.
Many people turn up and they assured us they had a wonderful time.
Exactly. This is an unknown, and we will disregard it for this matter.
And if you want to come, you should use the Calendar app, which is in our show notes. It's an Anglo-Futurist project.
So Tom and I, for example, live together. So when we might use this app, Calendar might say to us, gosh, you're
both in the living room.
You're both in the living room. Why don't you turn on the television? And we would go, bloody hell, I'd never thought of that. And it can do even more than just that. So we encourage you, sign up on the app, on the link, using the link in our show notes, and join us on the 14th for ale, conversation, and
mild paranoia about Hope Not Hate operatives. An evening with dangerous intellectuals.
An evening with dangerous pseudo-intellectuals.
Who now has anything to say about the deindustrialization of this country?
Georgian townhouses on the moon, the highest GDP per capita in the Milky Way. Small modular reactors under every village green. This is Anglo-Futurism.
Listeners, welcome back to the King Charles III Space Station. I'm Tomo.
And I'm Calum Drysdale.
And what fetching pyjamas you're wearing, Calum.
Well, Tom and I have been roused from our beds, emerged, because we had a crash in the sitting room. We've emerged in our matching pyjamas. Tom, how would you describe the pattern of our pyjamas?
Well, they're courtesy of a listener, Jamie Rumbelow, a friend of the show, and
who has actually been on the podcast, and his episode is going to come out soon.
And in homage to our video opening credits, there is a pattern depicting the Elizabeth Tower with, I think it's a kind of oxygen methane engine, because it's blasting upwards among the clouds and the stars. And so, yeah, we match.
And let me know, Tom, you look delightful. You look very fetching.
As do you.
Guys, it's nice to have your own podcast where you can say this sort of stuff, isn't it?
But we were lounging around in the KC3 in these pajamas, and then this brick with a bit of New Statesman paper wrapped around it came hurtling through our mullioned window.
Yes, well, we were alerted by this brick was hurled, and let's be honest here,
First,
Tom.
we reached for the oxygen helmets, obviously.
Let's be honest. It was not just a few pages of print. It was a huge wad of pages wrapped around the brick. In fact, it was more paper than brick. But this was dispatched by a, I have to say, rather cerebral New Statesman journalist who has written another criticism of us.
Yeah, this is our second hit piece within 3 weeks or so. Listeners will remember that a left-wing activist organisation classed us as dangerous intellectuals. Guilty. And this one in the New Statesman was basically a chin-stroking meditation on Anglo-Futurism with copious references to Turkish novelists and like Russian cultural theorists. but the guy was applying this kind of mass of cultural expertise to us just farting out stuff like Pingu nationalism. Which
No, Tom, no. And I say this to our listeners and our future cultural critics who will be forced to listen to our entire oeuvre and decode what meaning we're hiding in our words. I think actually this was exactly the correct level of engagement with our work. So I would encourage you to actually look even deeper, because the man has only scratched the surface of our analysis.
Should we do a dramatic reading, Calum? I'll do my new Statesman voice.
As a newspaper man, Tom, I feel that it is you were born to do this.
There's a strange melancholy running through all of it, something close to what Orhan Pamuk calls hüzün in his book Istanbul, Memories in the City. Pamuk describes hüzün as a shared collective sadness, a kind of civic grief that lingers after an empire's fall. The feeling is not individual, but ambient, a pride turned inward, a grandeur curdled into gloom. Anglo-futurism is a British hüzün. The ache of a poet. You get the picture.
Well, I mean, which actually I think is really sad, because what man clearly doesn't understand about Istanbul and Turkey is that our only connection with that part of the world is when we both went and got our veneers done there. So
and our hair transplants.
Tom actually opted for the appearance of a distinguished, slightly receding at the temples.
Distinguished Norwood too.
Exactly, to make himself seem more kind of intellectual, while I went for the sort of caddish, youthful, straight across the front.
I think people would take you a bit more seriously intellectually if you had a sort of M-shaped hairline like mine. The distinguished Norwood too, as it is known taxonomically.
I think, Tom, it would take quite a lot more than that for people to take me seriously as an intellectual.
I think we're going to say quite a lot more hair loss to look at you, where I had the same hairline since I was 15. I want to be very clear about that, unambiguously so on this podcast. But anyway, back to Luke O'Reilly. What I would really like to see from Luke, who I've met and who's a nice dude, and I don't begrudge him this jab at Anglo-futurism.
Well, we are the hot young thing, so
we're dangerous intellectuals.
Any journalist must earn their spurs by having a swing.
So I basically disagree entirely with his diagnosis of kind of. I mean, he basically implies that kind of Brits shouldn't be able to look to the future, because he brings up Afrofuturism and says that this is noble basically because Africans have had a hard time, whereas Brits have authored some ills in the past, and therefore it's kind of wrong that we have futurism. And
well, I mean, but this is a common view. I was at a party over the weekend, and I can't remember quite how it came out, but someone's just said, in passing, oh yeah, but it wouldn't be too bad if Britain died out. This is a Brit.
Yeah, there is kind of cultural meme going around. I think that in reality, if there was some external force that were like eliminating Britain like very quickly, this person would be quite agitated about it.
Yeah, but of course, but this is the same problem that is basically all of our challenges, right? Is that every single problem, issue, force that is degrading people's quality of life is like slow enough that you can feel that, oh well, this is just like an inevitable thing that happens, and everyone's life just gets worse. There is no event that can shock people enough, because this has been, the frog is boiled now.
Yeah, I think that's kind of true. I also think that people say stuff because they think it sounds cool.
Yeah, that's true. I was somewhat undercover at this party.
And what do you mean? Was it a kind of party of kind of well, I wouldn't like to say woke lefties?
I would never be that rude. It was some very nice people, but I think it probably kept things light and friendly, that I didn't stand up and go, "Excuse me, sir. I think actually that's not a very good idea."
Do you remember the evening we met where we were chatting about Anglo-futurism already, and then we were speaking to a woke woman, I'd asked you what you would. This kind of shows the kind of chat that I unleash on people who I'm meeting for the first time. But I asked you, if you had like total urban planning power over Brixton, what would you do? And you gave me an answer, and then we put the same question to her, and she said, well, I'd probably like build more social housing. And then you were like, no. And you've known this woman for about 5 minutes, just laying into her for being so stupid as to imagine that more social housing would be good for Brixton and London.
I do remember we've laughed about that since, because Tom at the time clammed up. He was far more sensible than I was.
I mean, yeah, I think you hadn't fully blackpilled me on masses of this kind, and ultimately I, unlike you, am well adjusted enough to be like, yeah, sure, like maybe some more social housing, like whatever, like I really just met you.
Yes, you're right. I think as mentioned earlier, even if I had no hair whatsoever, I would still not be well socially adjusted.
But you know, this piece in the New Statesman. What else?
Well, let's actually hit the key thing, which is, as of yet, none of these criticisms have actually been attacks. Whatever, we're very flattered. Thank you very much. Write another one. None of them have actually accurately captured what we believe. They have all described us as young England style romantics who dream of clouded hills and lone adventurers wandering in a Gothic landscape, amongst the ruins of a former age, and experiencing a heroic sort of vision quest that will unleash their sort of inner romantic power. We want factories.
No, I do like the sound of the first. I do very much like the sound of the first.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, even as I say, I'm converting myself.
As Ryan Chadwitten says, he wrote this blog post defending us, which is the best thing written about us. I would say. He said that we've been accused of, sort of wanting a kind of Blakean New Jerusalem sort of Britain, and Ryan argues that in fact, Anglo-futurists want the dark satanic mills to be, and I think we want both. Luke concludes, in the end, its retro rockets and thatched spaceships point not to the future, but to a nation circling its own ruins, unsure whether to rebuild them or finally let them go. And what I'd really like him to do as a follow-up, or kind of anyone from the New Statesman, is show us a lefty Anglo-futurism. I would love to see it, like an Anglo-futurism with redistributive characteristics, like an Anglo-futurism where there's a state agency that does asteroid mining, that kind of thing.
I think I do wonder, and this is again, marking my lack of genuine intellectual depth. Because I as I read more, I'm struck by how many of these ideas are like already discussed in these books and have kind of already been shown to be mutually exclusive, and then people seem to be now emerging, thinking, I wonder if we could make this work. And this idea came to me. I was reading bits from The Sovereign Individual, the sort of William Rees-Mogg book about the excitement of a new cyber age where governments can't hold elites to a single place. And there's this prefaces like all these ideas that we've currently talking about of, the rich will just leave, or an itinerant AI engineer, whatever. And I do wonder how much of what we are now discussing has already been covered, and actually its conclusions have already been written, and we're just too ignorant to have like captured it, because you always arrive too late. Like Lash has already discussed all the issues of our modern age, but we just chose not to read them. I wonder if we can. I wonder if actually just we need to be more humble, read more, and just accept like the direction of where things are going.
Who's we?
I think the whole. I don't know. I've been repeatedly struck in the last few weeks about how
there's nothing new intellectually under the sun.
There is not. Well, yes, or how many of the ideas that we currently discuss, like these, sort of nostalgic ideas, have as in Luke Riley's point about nostalgia versus factories. Like, we are synthesizing that. Are we doing something new? I think we genuinely are. And that's what I hope that people understand, is that we hope that you can provide a route that can move us through these, and that we genuinely are offering a new path.
I don't think we. I mean, I don't think Anglo-Futurism needs to particularly provide anything new. When in some ways the answers are so obvious, like they're already there. Like, everything we want to talk about on this podcast is being done by other countries, be it artificial islands or like a proper space program, or countries that have real state capacity. Like, none of this is fantasy. Like, that you don't need to have much originality in your vision of a kind of national futurism for it to be useful.
Yeah, I think that is actually a very good point. And I mean, and you know, to
dangerous intellectuals though we are, like we're magpies.
Yeah. That's very true. That's very true. Okay, well, there's our intellectual answer, which I think brings us on quite nicely to this thing we want to talk about of ARIA funding, right? Where ARIA, which I mean, I would say is probably one of the most exciting things happening in Britain, is in many ways a copy, right? But it's a copy critically that has been implemented extremely well. And I was just reading, there's I think, oh God, what's his name? Casey Hadamard, I think it is.
Casey Hadamard.
Yes, that might be it.
If you'd read my book, Calum, you would know that he was an interviewee. Casey
Hadamard, that's the one. I'm nearly at that bit.
You must be the page right before.
Yeah, right before that.
Casey Hadamard is a great man with a terrific blog on space. An ARIA, for the uninitiated.
Well, let me make the point about Casey Hadamard, and then I want you to do the intro for ARIA. I love the sound of my own voice. The key point is Casey Hadamard writes about like the collapse of NASA. That NASA has basically, what once was this absolutely astonishing institution in terms of its originality, its verve, its forward thrusting ability, is now like as defunct, as decrepit, as like incapable of actually producing a project than like many of the organizations we know. And that, I think, is extremely encouraging, because it suggests there is a lifetime to these organizations, but you can set them up, and ARIA might just be one of these.
You just have to start a new one.
Yeah, talk about ARIA.
We'll finish on NASA. I think Samo Bouya and Bismarck have written about NASA as well as an organisation that exemplifies kind of bureaucratic drift and bureaucratic swelling over the years, such that this formerly very dynamic and nimble organisation is now massive, is very well funded, but is partly. But the budget's partly used on silly pork barrel stuff, and they're not innovating in the way that they were in the 60s. So the Space Launch System is, I think, looked upon as a pretty ropey project by space experts, whereas Starship, the Elon Musk alternative, looks a much better bet in terms of getting humans to the moon and Mars. But as for ARIA, so this there may be some listeners who don't know what ARIA is, Calum, and it's the Advanced Research and Invention Agency.
Innovation Agency?
No, Invention.
Invention. Okay, I beg your pardon.
And I know because I actually did.
Are they in your book? Are they in your book as well?
They're not in my book, but I did. Full disclosure, I did about 3 days worth of contracting for them when they were hiring their first program directors. So these are the kind of misfits and weirdos who were given money to basically pursue crazy science projects.
I probably should actually put my hands up and say full disclosure as well, because I'm actually probably more culpable and implicated than you are, in that I've currently applied for one of their funding calls, and I'm in the process of writing my application for another one. So maybe I should say a few rude things about them to show that I have real integrity.
Is this for your robots?
This is for my robots. Yeah. Well, talk about ARIA, and then I can flog my robots to any.
Okay. So ARIA was inspired by DARPA, which was basically this US government agency whose job it was and remains to come up with kind of cool technological innovations, in a nutshell. And Dominic Cummings had long argued that we needed something similar in this country, given that we have scientific talents, but often good scientific ideas aren't easily commercializable at first blush. So I think there are very good arguments in favor of state-funded agencies that can help incubate these technologies and bring together small teams of innovative people to do these cool projects that could turn into something like the internet or like Ozempic,
which was a DARPA project.
Yeah, the internet famously emerged from ARPA. It came from ARPANET or something. But anyway, so ARIA was founded in I think 2023, and so it's had a good couple of years, and now it's gone so well actually that Labour is trying to take credits for giving it a whole new wad of funding, which is the story in the Times this week. Actually, in the spending review of this summer, they'd already allocated this new money to ARIA, and it is a bit of a pay rise, and by that token, an endorsement of ARIA. And I think very exciting Anglo-futurist news, really, because the kind of stuff that ARIA is cooking up, and we know some of the people who are involved, and they're like very high caliber.
The people that I know that have got ARIA money are without like exception, extremely good people, and I really say that. Like I've met probably I think 4 or 5, and these are people, really interesting people who are either independent researchers, so they're not actually at a university, say, but they've set up this work that they're doing, or they are in universities, but they are the most interesting people there. And it is astonishing how good they've been at picking people. Again, I am applying, so I take that with a pinch of salt. But it's really exciting. And again, I suppose that the hope, right, is that can they resist the inevitable process of a bureaucracy, right? Which is you set up something new. Exciting people come. Once it's existed for a while, the exciting people don't want to work there anymore, or it becomes institutionalized, and then it's no longer going to do interesting things. That remains to be seen.
I think they're in this golden period right now where they're working on very cool stuff. So programmable plants. So they're trying to edit crops to make them grow faster or be more resilient, or neurotechnologies to repair the brain. They're working on a defense against the common cold. They've been working on climate technology.
And also critically, the open funding call that I'm applying for is the AI scientist. So the idea is, can you have a machine that is able to propose experiments or propose a hypothesis, plan an experiment that would answer or disprove that hypothesis, hopefully run the experiment itself on what's called a self-driving lab, so a robotic system that can execute experiments itself and then read the results out, and then analyze and contextualize that information within a broader sort of scientific context. So, take what papers have said interesting things previously and explain how this experiment or this piece of work is a novel insight. And this is really this is truly the cutting edge stuff. This is the stuff that the big AI labs are talking about as the tipping point that leads to runaway progress that dwarfs anything that we have felt in our lifetimes, even in this period of like vast technological growth. Because when machines can do this and run 24 hours a day and improve themselves recursively, we see runaway technological progress. So that's the one I'm applying for, and I'm really, really excited about it.
Because your robot is sort of trying to do that.
Well, my robot is the self-driving lab bit. So it's the I'm trying to do biological automation. So liquid handling, media. So
where typically a scientist would spend hours in a day just pipetting little bts of liquid.
Your robot
world.
So All right, you've twisted my arm. I'll talk about it. Yeah, so where once you'd have a scientist, and there are machines that kind of do this. So you have liquid handlers, but the idea is that we've built kind of the whole system. So we've got a liquid handler that can move liquids around. We've got a bioreactor that can act as a source of cells. We've got an incubator that can then incubate them, and then we've got a plate reader that can then read the results. So you can do, for example, if you wanted to know what conditions cells grew best in, you could set this machine running and run thousands upon thousands of experiments without a human having to be in the loop. And then you see the whole range of conditions that the cell might experience, and you see the shape of that response to whatever stimulus. So that's the idea, and it's quite exciting. We, that's the hope, is that actually innovation will happen quicker than that. And I think the fact that ARIA, obviously I would say this, but the fact that ARIA is already pushing in these areas that I haven't seen other like funding bodies look at is just, I think, very, very exciting.
And I think it just shows regarding NASA that you kind of have to start from the beginning and set up an agency that is as distant from government as possible, is protected by statute, is very small and nimble. And I said they're in this golden period because they're doing this cool research now. Normies haven't cottoned on to the existence of ARIA. So at the moment, the people I know who are involved are just like genuinely very, very talented and driven. It's not like a kind of university where people just want to go for the prestige.
Although let's also raise the point that the one bit of criticism that they got was for they did a program, and I don't know if it was a funding call or just a program, or a sort of discussion about climate engineering. So this is the idea that rather than reducing kind of carbon emissions, actually we should look at ways of reducing the glare of the sun to effectively counteract the effect of CO2. And this is not like going out to the sun. What's the Michael Bay film with Bruce Willis where he goes out and he tries to blow up the asteroid?
Armageddon.
So it's not kind of Armageddon style where...
This is also in my book, Calum. But this is in chapter 1.
I haven't got to that page. We're not sending Bruce Willis off to go and like pour water on the sun. This is like in the upper atmosphere.
Turkey first, then the sun.
Turkey. Bruce Willis with a massive head of hair and shining white teeth goes off to... So this is like up in the upper atmosphere, and people have said actually this has already happened. Sulfur dioxide, which comes out of like volcanoes, or actually, this is my particular like bugbear, was produced by ships. So like ship fuel had like sulfur in it that cooled the planet, and then there was a law brought in to remove sulfur from the fuel, so there was no more sulfur dioxide being put in, and then the climate, just the temperature of the globe just like jumped by 0.4 degrees. So, but the point is this came under criticism, right?
ARIA isn't actually injecting the atmosphere with stratospheric aerosols. Like they weren't even doing that.
No. But let's engage with like why this criticism came up, right? Because the feeling is that if you've got nerds doing this kind of stuff, and elites are basically always unreliable, that you cannot trust. If you're a sort of normal person, and I say this as not a normal person, so whatever.
Because you're a dangerous intellectual.
Because I'm a dangerous intellectual. Because because I spend my Sunday evenings dressed in Big Ben rocket pajamas, talking to my landlord about planning policy.
Same again next Sunday. Yeah?
Same again next Sunday. I have a girlfriend. I mean, this is ridiculous.
He feels like he's got to drop that in.
Yeah, I know. Listeners. No, but the key point is, like, you don't trust that these people will act in your interests. And so this raises like doubts, right? Are these people going to, fueled by the sort of confidence?
Have you managed to successfully argue that the opprobrium that Mark Symes from ARIA got for like doing anything to do with climate interference was a result of the destruction of noblesse oblige over the past century. I think you've actually just squared that circle.
So listeners, the answer, right, is the restoration of the hereditary peerage and and a genuine elite, many of whom will be technically educated. In fact, I'm hoping that the next Earl in Britain will actually be a machine learning engineer. No. I mean, let's not come on. But the key point is these people are suspect, or this class of people is suspect. And so this is why people raise it. And I think there is like a genuine point, and we've got in our notes, right? We're going to talk about this crap castle that's been built. And I think, do you want to explain that, and then I will produce the grand synthesis of the Anglo-futurist project.
Stop referring to our notes, Calum. But the next item in my Newsman's Anglo-futurist roundup is that the good news, Calum, is that the first castle in Britain for 100 years has been built.
And the bad news is it's crap.
Yeah, the bad news is it is absolutely awful. It looks like a kind of bunch of shipping containers made of concrete, PVC windows. It is just hideous. It was a Grand Designs project. It was... I think that this couple bought this plot in 2021, a converted 17th century folly in Warwickshire. Demolished the folly, thought they'd spend 2 million. They wanted to build a modern castle complete with a tower, a moat, arrow slits, courtyards. The whole thing cost not £1.4 million, but £7 million. It looks like a multi-storey car park, people are saying. And the couple has basically it's not gone well.
Well, it was a classic Grand Designs project, right?
He's sold multiple businesses, his London flats, a home by the south coast. He asked his mother Tricia for a 6-figure loan from her pension fund.
But the key point, right, is when they came up with this idea, they didn't think that this is what would happen. I mean, maybe Grand Designs it does, but as we talked about in our episode about, we've talked about like design, architects, elites, educated people are basically you can't trust them. You cannot trust that they have your interests in mind. And that's why the ARIA thing was suspect. And it's the same thing with this, right? If you and I imagined a castle, it doesn't have PVC windows.
Yeah, because, we're plebs with righteous tastes. So we just want to see kind of big granite monoliths and your moats, all that kind of thing.
Exactly.
So crenellations.
So I round off this bloviation by saying that I understand why the ARIA thing has raised hackles, because you could imagine this being a similar project, but I suppose you have to say, no, trust us on this one. These are good people.
I think there are a few things going on. I think people get the willies at the idea of interfering with planetary systems. There's this sense that Gaia, Mother Earth, is not to be meddled with. And I think that's one of the psychological forces at play here. Another one, sure, is that people don't trust elites.
I think that's probably true. That is probably true. But and I suppose there's also like an extra part of that, which is, climate like emergent, climate like catastrophizing, has been used as a motive for a whole lot of like other causes. That it feels like basically anyone bringing it up is.
Yeah, I think that's true as well. I think people have had about 2 decades of being told that the climate is in a state of emergency, and I think feel that any kind of interference is wrong.
Yes, or that like actually it's not as bad as all that. So why are you going to try and fix an issue that doesn't really exist?
But there are several ways that humans do interfere with the planetary systems or the way the planet works. And one of them which we are keen on is bringing is bringing land out of the sea. So we've been banging on about Dogger Bank for ages. The Dutch and the Chinese are among the nationalities who've actually been doing this for real. And now this guy, Rob Jetten, I apologise for my pronunciation, but this guy looks like he's going to be the next Prime Minister of the Netherlands. And he's been promising 10 new cities, of which one is going to be raised from the sea. And again, I'm going to have to apologise for my pronunciation, but IJ-Stad. No. Does that sound about right to you?
No.
Come on, do it. You do it then.
Wait, how am I spelling this?
IJ, but they're capitalised, and then STAD.
Well, it'd be like Stad.
Are you Stad?
It'd be Stad, or
yeah.
Well, actually, that might be the German. My Dutch, I've been accused I've been told has a German twang to it. Stad, what? IJ Stad.
Idstad. Artificial Islands, 60,000 homes, 20 billion euros.
And as you said, Anglofuturism is actually just looking at what other people have done and saying maybe we could do that too.
May I have a crumb of progress, please?
Which actually, the Dutch are doing, we've talked about Sino-futurism already. This is an example of Bato-futurism.
Bato-futurism.
Which is the correct prefix for the Dutch.
Surely every listener will think immediately the British Antarctic Territory when you say Bato-futurism.
No. This comes from the Latin for like Batavia, the Batavians.
Of course. I'm just
so this is Bato-futurism for you. As a brother nation, inventor of the joint stock company. So if the Dutch can do it, then we should bloody get on with it. You hear that, Matt Clifford? I want the next ARIA funding should be how to remove lots of water from the ocean to build an island.
Also on the Anglo-futurism news round is the successful launch of an Orbex rocket in Scotland.
On a computer.
Yeah. So it's a simulated launch. It's their prime rocket. It's light, it's reusable, 3D printed in part, and all their avionics and software systems are developed in-house. So it's a kind of cool bit of native rocketry, which is why we're sort of fond of it, despite the fact that it's nowhere near as large as Starship.
Yeah, and you know my thoughts on this, that I am skeptical about it.
Well, I don't know much about Orbex, but I'm pretty persuaded that the Peter Haig theory that it's not kind of specific to him, but there's this view that everything is about the cost of getting mass into space.
Yes, sure, but my answer on this is we shouldn't chase the advances that SpaceX has already made. What we should do is we should utilize the never before seen low cost of getting mass into space, and instead of thinking about how can we produce an alternative to SpaceX, we should be thinking how can the British government be sending more mass into space than any other. So Peter, you mentioned Peter Haig. Peter Haig says we should be building habitats in space.
Did you talk about this on Times Radio with Hugo Rifkind, or did you?
I mentioned rotating habitats, which are properly should be called O'Neillian habitats, which was totally.
Did Brit properly raise his eyebrow?
Hugo Rifkind wearing sort of clear aviator specs, which I think the technical term for are nonce glasses. He didn't.
Hugo Rifkind, we are tremendous fans, and this is an affectionate parody.
Affectionate parody. But yeah, he wasn't sold. But I do think Haig is right. Haig, this is my Haigian position. Is that we should use the fact that SpaceX has done all this work for us to do the thing that other people are not doing. Build the habitat first. Use the fact that, and we're talking to Space Solar, well, we have spoken to Space Solar, and that episode will be out, well, either before or after this. But that is...
Thanks for narrowing it down, Calum.
At some point there will
He
be an
doesn't
episode.
even know where it's going to come out in the future or the past.
But the key point, right, is they are building, spoilers, close your ears, whatever. They're building vast installations, and they're not trying to say, oh, let's just copy what SpaceX or compete with SpaceX. No, they're using the existence of SpaceX as a fact that's like changed the economics on these things to do something novel, and that's what we should be doing.
Speaking of doing novel things, I want to invoke the penultimate item on my Anglo-Futurist news round, which is your fortnightly Antarctica update. And two things have happened recently to do with Antarctica that are interesting. One is that the bedrock has been modelled with more detail than ever before by an international scientific consortium led by the British Antarctic Survey. And what this means is that you have this like very detailed 3D map of the rock that is underneath the sheet ice. And the reason that that's exciting to me is that we have a clear understanding of the geology now, and I think that might give us clues as to the resources. And so we're going to sit on our hands. I think that's our plan. But the Chinese have announced the latest kind of tranche of their Antarctic plans. They're going to drill 3 kilometers deep into the ice.
Through the ice?
Yeah, through the ice. Presumably as a sort of prelude to gathering data on natural resources, which I don't think is the kind of purpose of this, kind of this particular scientific endeavor.
They're not sending someone down with a pickaxe and a candle in his helmet.
I think they're going to be figuring out what kind of like rotary drilling techniques work best in the ice, and that will all come in very handy in the event that they start drilling for actual resources. I wonder if
they've released the topology of it.
We've just given the topography to the world.
Well, I wonder, is it released? Is it now open source?
I believe so.
Well, I wonder if I could go and print it. I mean, I could print it on my 3D printer, and we could have it mounted on the wall.
Oh, amazing! Well, obviously, we should print it, and then obviously we should actually identify which bits will have the gold seams.
Yeah.
And we should go. If anyone listening to this podcast would like to fund a very dangerous expedition, we need some hardy young men, some pickaxes, a rotary drill that can penetrate a few kilometers, and probably a few thermos flasks of hot chocolate.
Of Bovril.
Yeah, a bit of Bovril, and I think that's all we'll need.
But I genuinely, why didn't I bet we could mount it on our wall. We could have the bedrock of British Antarctica, and I could do it in 2 tones, so we could potentially suggest where some of the gold seams would be.
Well, it's my birthday in early December. As is yours.
As is mine.
Oh no, we both gave each other a 3D model of the Antarctic bedrock.
Oh no. We've got to stop doing this. Yeah, okay, well that I don't know, I mean that's a bad idea right there. That's not
Forget I said anything.
Yeah, forget I said anything.
All right, should we go for a break?
Yeah, we will go for the break. I will go off and see if I can buy some gold tinted PLA filament, and we will be back after a brief word from our sponsors.
Radio 4. Now the shipping forecast. Issued by the Met Office Space Weather Division in cooperation with the United Kingdom Space Operations Centre. The general synopsis at 1800 UTC. A coronal hole extending across the Sun's northern hemisphere, sending stream elevated solar wind towards Earth. Solar wind 600 kilometers per second. Density low. Interplanetary magnetic field weakly southward. Geomagnetic disturbances later, rising slowly. Solar activity moderate. Isolated M-class flares for some time. The sector forecast for the next 24 hours. High. Solar wind radial from coronal hole 620. BZ variable 4. Minor radiation storm S2 possible near Mars transfer arc. Visibility good. Auroral curtains on planetary limbs likely. Alf. Solar wind northwesterly 570. BZ0. Cosmic ray background high. Solar activity moderate.
Hello, listeners. This is a free preview episode, and if you want to listen to the full thing, you can subscribe at anglofuturism.co.
And if you go there, you'll also get early previews of guest interviews, occasional bonus episodes, and maybe even, Calum whistling, all that kind of jazz.
Whistling. You'll hear my 3-part rendition of The Men of Harlech.
I think I'm a better whistler than you.
I've never actually gone up against anyone.
But
who would
listeners,
judge?
you will have to subscribe to find out.